Mallory is a young bride on her way to Denver for her wedding rehearsal. On the way, she video calls her sister Ella. Ella tells her that she hasn't bought her plane ticket yet because she wants to make sure Mallory is truly in love and happy with her decision. Mallory responds in a fake voice that she is happy and hangs up the phone. Mallory then continues her journey. While there, she listens to her voicemail, in which her husband apologizes for having to cancel their honeymoon because of his work. He promises Mallory that they will go somewhere else for their honeymoon. He asks her to take care of her car, and that he can't wait to finally be together. When she stops the recording and thinks for a long time about whether she really wants this marriage. At an intersection, she finally takes a longer detour. On the way, she listens to a CD selection Elle has put together for her when her car suddenly stops. She opens the hood, but it turns out that she can't solve the problem alone. She tries to call for help, but there is no signal in the canyon where she stopped. She finds a can of Coke in the car. To quench her thirst, she tries to open it, but the soda spills and Mallory pours it on herself. While she's trying to change clothes in the back of the car, a man suddenly appears behind her. The man's name is Christian and he offers to help. Christian starts the car for her, while they talk and flirt. Christian seems like a nice man at first, but Mallory is afraid to let her into his car after a short acquaintance, so she sets off alone. After a few meters, guilt and curiosity won't let her rest, and she still offers the man a ride. At first, everything goes well on the way. Mallory tells her about her husband and their relationship. Christian heads to the nearest town where Mallory finally decides to take her. Leaving the highway ramp, Christian starts acting strangely. He talks about how fate brought them together and it was meant to be. At one point, he remarks that he doesn't want to pick up Mallory because his huge cock wouldn't fit in Mallory's mouth anyway. Mallory is terrified and stops to get the man out, but Christian pulls out a knife and tells her to keep driving. They start driving again when Mallory notices that the man's seatbelt is unbuckled. They start to fight, speeding towards a guardrail on a bend and then crash. Mallory wakes up at the bottom of the canyon, upside down in the car. She unbuckles her seatbelt but can't get out because her leg is stuck in the seat. Her hand is bleeding profusely, so she bandages it with a piece of cloth. Meanwhile, Christian slowly wakes up, having been thrown from the car during the accident but apparently not seriously injured. Mallory reaches for the knife, but Christian reaches for the car by then. The man sees that Mallory is trapped and tells Mallory that he is the only one who can get out of this. He has to climb out because he caused the accident, then leaves her alone. It gets dark and the temperature gets extremely cold. Mallory puts on a sweater to keep from freezing, then tries to rest a bit when she suddenly hears footsteps. She turns on the car's headlights, but she can't see anything from the seat. The next morning, Mallory wakes up to find ants crawling on her wound. She has half a liter of water left, which she tries to save as much as possible. She tries to find tools in the car that can help her survive while she spends the day. The next morning, the man arrives. Christian starts asking questions about what happened while she eats and drinks. He asks Mallory in detail about her first sexual experience. While she clearly enjoys the situation, the woman answers in the hope of help and joins in his perverted game. The man asks questions in detail when he suddenly catches her in a lie and leaves. Mallory called for help at night, but they are far from the nearest town and the main road. She writes a message to her finder to expose the man after his death. She turns on music, then lights a fire next to the car with the materials she found. She cleans her wounds and tries to wash herself a little with the rag she found in the car, then falls asleep. In the middle of the night, she wakes up to rats crawling on her. She is extremely scared, but she drives the animals away and manages to kill one of them with the car key. She then takes out her knife and carves a small skewer with it. Although it is not very trusting, she cuts pieces of the rat and fries it so that she does not starve to death. The next morning, Mallory wakes up to a phone ringing and finally finds her cell phone in the garbage, which gives her a new chance at survival. She manages to reach the phone when the man suddenly appears. Mallory hides the phone until Christian tells her that he has covered the tracks on the road. The woman's phone starts ringing again. The man forcibly takes it from her and breaks it. He then brings out a tool bag from which he takes out a saw, which he offers the woman if she wants to cut off her own leg to free herself. It gets dark and the woman drinks her own urine to quench her thirst. It starts to rain and the woman learns from the radio that extreme rain is expected. The man arrives again in the car and the woman pretends to bleed out. The man goes closer to inspect it when Mallory attacks her, and then manages to set off the man's car alarm. The man then rushes to the car, where he unfortunately meets a police officer who begins to question him. The police officer hears the woman in the car for a moment, but the rain starts to fall harder. While investigating, the police officer slips and almost falls into the ravine, but the man catches him. The policeman and the man then leave and the rain starts to fall harder. The car has overturned in a stream bed, so as the rain gets heavier, the stream begins to fill with water. Mallory finally starts sawing her leg again to avoid drowning. The car is eventually washed away by the stream, and the woman's leg is finally freed. The car begins to sink, but the woman successfully swims to shore. The woman's leg is bleeding profusely from the sawing, but she finds a large stick with which she can stand up and sets off to find help. On the way, she finds the hut the man had mentioned earlier. From the hut, she hears women's screams and the man's angry voice. She decides to go closer to save the girl. She finds the police car in the yard and looks out the window to see the policeman, a girl tied up, and the man with a nail gun. After Christian goes upstairs, Mallory sneaks into the house where she finds several bodies of victims. Mallory tries to free the girl, but Christian enters the room. Mallory tries to shoot the man from behind but fails, and a fight breaks out. Mallory runs away, but the man finds her. The woman eventually manages to hide upstairs, then with an unexpected move pushes the man off the balcony, who just happens to fall into a bear trap. Mallory also gives Christian a chance to escape, leaving a knife with which he can cut off his own leg to free himself. Mallory and the girl leave the man, then head towards the city and finally escape.
Make sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.